Wall, this is my level design of Silent Thief. The player is tasked to reach the enemy's base and steal the target object. Here are some examples of foreshadowing as the boxes lead your eye towards the enemy's base. At the start of the level, the player is introduced to the game mechanics, introducing the player to the use of their stealth ability. It also introduces the player to brown objects being things that can help the player, such as the barriers and wooden planks. The brown barriers I placed inside soft HVAC units that are normally placed on the top of tall buildings. The explicit pass in this scenario would be following the train on the ground, leading the player to the parkour jumps on this building to the side. The intrinsic play would be sneaking closer to the guards and using the crane to cross the other building. The first jumps are based on fire escapes, often found on large apartment buildings. I've added the side area to be an extra bonus. If the player takes the time to explore, they can find power-ups that change how the game is played. In this case, the power-up would allow the player to kill the enemies. I used red for the color of the bad guys because of our association with red being bad. Additionally, I use triangles in the bad guy base to show that it's harmful, and I use squares to guide the player throughout the level, shown in the wooden planks on the floor and the windowsills that the player uses to jump on. Here's another example of leading lines and foreshadowing, as again you can see the green object that you're trying to get inside of the building. Here the player is tasked with sneaking through the enemy's space to reach the object. There are multiple ways the player can get through this area, and they all are with different difficulties. Additionally, in this level, I made sure to create sort of an ominous feel by using the fog. I wanted the buildings to feel higher up than they actually were, and by doing the fog, by adding the fog to the bottom of the level, it made the buildings feel taller. So as the enemy goes through this section, they have to avoid the moving enemies and sneak around them so they don't get caught. And then once the player obtains the target item, they are going to unlock the ability to run at 2 times speed and double jump. On top of that, taking the target item sets off the alarms, causing the enemy to be on alert. Now the player must use their new powers to exit the level on basically a time limit. So in the actual game, this would be a more involving scenario, as the bad guys would be chasing, the enemies would be chasing after the player.